Well, Ulysses, the Tampa Bay Rays take 3 out of 4 against the Kansas City Royals. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. We're going to dive deep on everything that went down this weekend, so let's have some fun with it.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And if you're interested in advertising or being a sponsor of the program, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Well, like we mentioned, the Tampa Bay Rays take 3 out of 4 against the Kansas City Royals at home. And I will give the Rays credit, and I'll say I was wrong. I thought that on Thursday that it was very possible that the Rays would come out flat following a devastating walk-off loss to the Yankees, and that it would be a letdown, play down to the competition type game. And, the Rays would lose 6-2 or 7-1 or something like that. And it ended up being reversed. And the Rays, that win got them off to a good start in this series, although they lost the game I was at on Friday. But still, you take 3 out of 4, can be against the worst team in baseball. That's still pretty solid.
That just tells me that they listened to the pod and they were like, "Oh, Kevin doesn't think we're gonna get on Thursday. Well, I guess we're gonna put an egg on Friday when he's in here." By the way, how was your Trop experience?
It was really, really good, and we got some free baseball, extra inning baseball, although the Rays couldn't pull it out. A lot of base running gaffes during the course of that game, but you can't hate on the $5 Bud and Bud Lights at the Budweiser porch, although, again, I'm going to continue to harp on this. The Rays need to come up with some sort of marketing promotion, the cycle, the 5 for 5, that includes Michelob, Miller, Coors, and include those beverages in the $5 per can package, because I got my buddy Brendan, who was at the game and a Royals fan. He wanted a Coors, and he did get the tickets, so I obliged. And the difference between a Bud Light or a Budweiser and a Coors was absolutely insane and ridiculous. I'll just say it. Coors Light was like $13 that I got it, and it wasn't a trough for 100 ounces of Coors Light. It was a 16 ouncer. So that. Outside of that and outside the loss, it's always fun to go to a ball game like that and chat with a couple buddies. And, it's the first time I'd been to the Trop in a very long time. And it was an enjoyable experience despite the L. I'll leave it like that. Hey, while we're talking about it, how was your experience on Saturday?
A bit better because I got to see a W. I got to see a few friends of the pod, Carlos and Melissa Herrera, of course. Got to see Austin Holloway and got to see Ryan Hill, who gave us the good idea for this. Will Wander Franco match the MVP season for Ryan Sandberg? Right. He gave us that idea. Met him, talked ball with him for like half an inning. Very interesting guy, really cool. So thank him. I thank him for coming over and chatting it up. I think I had a better experience at the Trop than you just because of the W. This weekend was exactly what you wanted Rays baseball to be. You saw the offense keep it up. They have been on fire in the last 3 series. They keep pitching well. The starting pitcher is giving you a good opportunity to stay in the ballgame. The bullpen is mostly getting it done. I don't have a lot of qualms right now with this team. Yeah, if you have to pick something, it would be the base running, like you mentioned. From Friday's game. But overall, the defense has been playing well. The pitching has done their job. The hitting has done their job. Do you have any big names that you want to highlight on either pitching or the hitting side of the ball?
I do have a big name. I do have a name that I want to highlight, but first, going to do a little teaser here and tell you about betonline.net before we get to that. Betonline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. So head over to the BetOnline site today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. I don't know if the name in my head is the same name that's in your head presently, but Mr. 330 batting average now, Harold Ramirez, Mr. 3-hit performance on Sunday, Mr. I just assume he's going to go 2 for 4, 2 for 5, 3 for 4 in every game he plays in. It is unbelievable what he's doing, and doesn't waste a step, doesn't waste a breath since coming back from the IL. And he's a big piece of the offense for this team going forward in this series. Absolutely.
Yeah, Harold Ramirez, we kept saying this before he got hurt, and I was completely legitimately serious. I said this guy could wake up, do a couple of stretches in 2 minutes, and then go 2 for 4. Like, he can just wake up and literally go hit at a Major League Baseball game. Guess what? He loses, what was it, 3.5 weeks, maybe 4 weeks of time. Has one rehab game. Cash calls Margot and asks him, "Hey, how do you see Harold?" Man, he goes, "He's ready." Put him in the starting in the starting lineup. Dude has gone since his return 9 for 21. 9 for 21 since his return, and he has hit safely in all 5 games. This guy can wake up and hit. Do not take him out of the lineup unless something is horribly wrong with his body. This guy needs to be in the lineup. He is a spark plug. He is a guy that will, no matter if the pitch is inside and has already passed him in his swing path, that thing is going for a double past the first baseman. The plate coverage is unreeled with Harold Ramirez.
No, it's really, he has a knack for finding holes and getting the ball through the infield. Again, we can talk about the power, the lack there. I don't even care. I mean, even without the bombs, he's got an 840 OPS. So Harold Ramirez, keep doing what you're doing. Absolutely. And I think one thing that you'll notice in watching him is, like you mentioned, the plate coverage, but on fastballs inside, down and in, he has a remarkable ability to inside out the baseball, which allows him to, again, you can't really shift against him. If you look at his spray chart, it's everything. Like, if he wants to go for a little bit of power, it's going to be really pull heavy down the line, but everything else, and not just the hitting ability, but he's not striking out either. 13.5% K rate. And I don't think there's any question that, you have to bring him back next year. I believe he's arbitration eligible for the first time as a Super 2. And, he might be a case of maybe it took him 1,000 plate appearances to really figure it out in the bigs. I mean, we knew he could always hit at the big league level. I mean, his other stops, you were seeing a 270 batting average, give or take, but being able to get consistent playing time and finding the right fit and finding the right environment and growing and developing a little bit, I think we're starting to see that. So I'm actually really poised and excited to see Harold Ramirez in a Rays uniform in 2023, unless the Rays do something really kind of crazy and trade him when the value is maybe at its peak. I don't know if he's ever going to hit 337 or whatever he winds up hitting at the end of the day, but I watch him and I see a guy that at the very least, he's going to give you a 280, 290 batting average. And quite frankly, very often could give you a 300 batting average. And, it's not just, it's garbage hits, giving the team a lead, getting the first runs of the game, tying a game. So many big time moments that he's been a part of so far this season. And let's look back at that very, very inconsequential, or what seemed like a inconsequential trade at the time, where the Rays acquired Harold Ramirez from the Chicago Cubs. The Rays gave up one Esteban Quiros. What's Quiros doing? He's hitting 205 in AAA right now. So I would certainly say that the Rays have gotten the better end of the deal thus far.
Kevin, and it's not only the fact that everything that you said is 100% correct, but then also on that, his sprint speed, the dude hustles every time out there. He knows he's going to get 4 at-bats, so every time that he's going to run to first, he's going to run his hardest, no matter what. And usually, those hits that are infield hits for him, it's because he hustled. Mm-hmm. It's not because they weren't like, perfectly placed and, they're like kind of like bunts or whatever. No. He hits them right at the shortstop, at the third baseman. Maybe they have to make a couple moves to the left or to the right. But ultimately, it's his speed that gains him that half a step, that one last step that gets him to be safe. It's that extra hustle. And you love that about Harold. I mean, that's a thing that when you're a fan and you see the hustle like Harold and like Siri, for example, he does that too. Randy as well. You gravitate towards those players because you are putting time and effort and your mental stability and health towards watching a baseball team for 162 games. You want those players to also feel it as much as you do. And when you see Harold Ramirez running towards first like he does all the bleeping time, then you start to like him a lot.
I don't know what he needs to do to qualify for this, how many more at-bats he needs and plate appearances he needs for the rest of the season, but he's absolutely well on pace just from a batting average perspective of having the best single-season batting average in Rays history. That moniker right now goes to Jason Bartlett, who did it in 2009 with a 320 batting average. Now, I should also note that Jason Bartlett, the year after that, hit 254. But Jason Bartlett before then was a solid 270, 280, 290 hitter. But again, we often see guys that go out and flame out and go nuts for that year. But man, I think Harold Ramirez has some staying power, absolutely. And one thing that I got to thinking about Harold Ramirez is, say he does finish with a 337 batting average. Say what he has right now sticks for the rest of the season. Or say it's, 327, 330. It got me thinking of, will Wander Franco ever reach that high of a batting average in a single season? Because I don't think we realize how remarkable what Harold Ramirez is doing. This isn't 1994. This is 2021, where the average batting average is 230. It might even be lower now.
Right. No, it's impressive. And you're right. The knock is, of course, the ABs, not only because of his injury, but because of the pitching matchups and the way that, Kevin Cash utilizes the lineup and gives people some rest and all that. So it's always going to be very difficult for a Rays player to get one of those titles because of the way that the matchups work. I wouldn't say never, ever for Wander Franco. I mean, because the guy's ceiling is incredible. And so, a 337, even though it's as amazing as ever, if there is one guy that I would put, green Skittles on BetOnline, that would be Wander Franco to do that. But it is amazing. And I think Rays fans should really start to, get their Harold Ramirez flag real high because he has been amazing. And speaking of flags, I just want to note it was a very, very cool thing that happened on Sunday because the Rays had a lineup that had 8 different nationalities. Very, very, very cool. Yeah. It was the U.S., the DR, Cuba, Colombia, Venezuela, Mexico, Taiwan, and Panama. That is as cool as a stat as you will ever see. And I just wanted to put that out there that if you're a Rays fan, feel proud about that front office. Feel proud about, Kevin Cash and those players like making history because that's a pretty cool thing how you're making baseball global.
And being able to meld all those different personalities and cultures together. I guess I'm disappointed that they couldn't get that 9th in there. Could they have started G-Man Choi or something.
Yeah, G-Man would have been 9.
Just
That
for
would have been really cool.
You know, S and giggles, if you will. That would have been a fun
yeah.
thing. But yeah, that is something that the Rays, again, they search far and wide for players that can help their team for sure. Anything else, or what else about this series piqued your interest, good, bad, or indifferent?
2 pitchers I think should be highlighted. Mostly, let's say I'm back on Yummy Yarbs. It's now Yummy Yarbs since being recalled since July 16. 31 innings, 10 earned runs. The dude is pitching effectively with that cutter and that curveball. And more important than anything, he's getting ahead with strikes. Like, he's not, trying to be too fine with his stuff. He's just like, I'm going and hitting the strike zone no matter what. Can you hit it? And the thing is, they're not. They're not. Right. And if they are, it's soft contact galore because that's what he does. So Yummy Yarbs is back on the table. That is fantastic news for Rays fans because in the playoffs, now you have that weapon where I don't want to get too ahead because there's a lot of baseball to be played. But let's remember, the wild card series is 3 games. So if you're going the Horsemen, McClanahan, Rasmussen, and Klubat, then you have, or maybe a Springs instead of Klubat, but I would go Klubat, but that's a discussion for another day. You need somebody who's fresh for that ALDS because you're winning the wild card game, the wild card series. So you need arms that are fresh, that are not those 3 guys. So Yarbs being healthy and being good and effective would be really, really helpful for the Rays.
Right. And just his ability to presently eat up innings. And this is if I'm Yarbs, he's certainly pitching his way into a playoff spot. We'll see if that continues when some of the injured guys get back and if he's able to keep up what he's able to do now. But it's absolutely huge for the president as you go into a stretch of playing 17 games in 17 days. That's going to be very, very important. Was there another player that you wanted to mention as well?
Last but not least, the guy that I saw on Saturday, Drew Rasmussen. My goodness, you throw 8 perfect innings, and then the next start, usually if Inter McGee didn't have something important to do, he would have found this data for me, which is how do pitchers perform after a perfect game bid or a no-hitter bid? How do they do? From my experience, they usually do poorly.
Right.
They usually do kind of mediocre. Boom. 5 no-hit innings after 8 perfect ones. So Drew Rasmussen, he's getting more whiffs lately in his starts. The guy is like pushing on the pedal. I like it. Again, just like Yarbs, coming into October, coming into the September chase on fire, I think that would really help. And he has looked phenomenal.
He has, and he's getting better as the season goes on, which was maybe a question mark because with his injury history and usage history, it was like, well, when he gets to 80, 90, 100 innings, how's he going to respond? But being able to fine-tune another pitch in his arsenal and being able to deploy it as he wants, like it's really amazing what he's doing right now. So hopefully the Rays continue their success, build off their success. Are they now going for their 3rd straight series win in facing the Angels for a 4-game set because they won a series against the Yankees, won a series against the Royals, and now the Angels, who aren't very good, coming to town, especially after unloading Noah Syndergaard, Brandon Marsh, Raisel Iglesias. Again, there's really only 2 reasons to watch the Angels, and that's Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. And you look up and down their depth chart in their roster, there's a lot of blah there, and this team isn't playing for anything, certainly. So I don't want to get greedy by any means, but I would think and would hope that the Rays can do similar to what they did against the Royals with the Angels.
Hopefully. And this would be their 4th series win if they go for it, because they did win against Baltimore, that season series during the weekend.
That's right.
Baltimore.
Okay.
So that would be great.
The winning series,
the team is in a roll. The team is in a roll, exactly. And before that, they lost that 2-gamer against the Brewers, but then again, they also won that 4-gamer against the Tigers. So they have you've been seeing them go in a roll. Hopefully that doesn't stop with the Angels. We've talked about the September schedule ad nauseum by now. If you listen to this podcast, you know September is going to be a rough and tough. It's not easy at all. So the Angels coming to town, you gotta kind of do the same thing you did to the Royals. Yeah, gotta win 3 out of 4. Winning 2 out of 4 would just be such a letdown because these are the victories that you need to pack it in, especially when the Yankees are kind of faltering in their own demise. So, the one good thing about Shohei Ohtani coming to Tropicana would be that he's not going to be on the mound. So the Angels are actually going to be Shohei Ohtani less on the pitching side of things, which is a good thing for Rays fans. Yes and no, because it kind of would be cool to also see Shohei Ohtani pitch and do his thing, right? But no, for Rays hitters, that's a positive.
Yeah. Now, I guess the difference, I mean, both the Angels and Royals are not good ball clubs, but I guess the difference between the Angels and the Royals is the Royals were like throwing out 8, 10, 12 rookies. I mean, they're just basically a team of young players that they're rolling out there. While the Angels, for as many flaws that they have organizationally and building a team, they still do have the couple studs that I mentioned and still do have quite a few veterans on the team, although the veterans don't, it's not like they necessarily strike fear into you. But again, you can't take anyone lightly by any means. And talk about, you mentioned Shohei Ohtani. What kind of year is he having? Well, he leads the Angels in batting average. He leads the Angels in homers. He leads the Angels in RBI. He leads the Angels in on-base percentage. He leads the Angels in hits. He leads the Angels in wins. He leads the Angels in ERA. And he leads the Angels in strikeouts. And those are just a couple categories. He leads the Angels in a lot of other categories as well, except for salary. That's something he lacks on the Angels.
Right? But that's the other MVP. That's the other MVP who has probably the highest salary, right? And Mike Trout. Yes, you're right. The Royals are not the Angels by any means. But let's just play a quick Monday trivia. How many games do you think that they separate on that they're separated from in the winning column? Do you know this?
I would say they've got to be just about the same. They're right around 48, 49 wins.
Well, the Royals are at 49 wins, and the Angels are at 52.
Okay, so the Angels are not coming along, but they're not as bad, I guess, even despite
3 wins, guys. So they're better. They're better, but woof.
Right.
That's just such an. What I mean, this would be a whole pod. I mean, if you want to listen to Locked On Angels,
exactly,
do that too, because they probably have a lot of venting to do this season.
Yeah, and I didn't mention Anthony Rendon in that statement of Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout because he's nowhere to be found. He's a ghost. He's always on the injured list or not producing, and he's on the injured list right now. 60-day injured list, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, he's out for the season if I'm not mistaken. So
we might have to have the Locked On Angels crew do a list of like the top 5, top 10 worst Angels contracts given out of all time, because there's a lot of bad contracts that
there's a lot. Yeah,
Anthony Rendon, I don't know if he's at the top. Again, I'm not an Angels encyclopedia by any means, but that has been awful.
I mean, I can just think of Hamilton, Vernon Wells, Upton.
That's all just off the top of your head.
At the top of my head.
Maybe you want to mention Pujols to some extent?
Exactly. You could. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. But no, just because, we're crapping on them right now. Look, they have a couple of interesting arms that they will be throwing.
Their starting pitching is actually pretty solid.
Yeah, Sandoval, Suarez actually had a no-hitter through until the 6th against the Mariners last start. So he's an intriguing arm from the lefty.
Well, didn't Reed Detmers no-hit the Rays earlier this year?
Yes, he did. And then he got sent down to AAA like 4 weeks later or something like that. But yeah, hopefully none of that bad juju. They come out and again, that was a different team. So this is a very interesting dynamic that we're going to see with the Angels, because when the Rays went there, the Angels were actually having a good time. They were actually winning, and people were actually saying, "Oh, they're going to go to the playoffs." And well, now it's August 22nd, and we know that they're not going to the playoffs once again. Hey, do you know how many at-bats Mike Trout has in the playoffs more than I do?
One.
He's only like 9 at-bats more than I have in the playoffs, so
that's pretty crazy.
Take that, Mike Trout.
Yeah,
take that.
For sure. And it could be a while before he's in the playoffs again, I would say, because the Angels aren't making the playoffs next year. I don't think, anyway. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.